Hello everyone. Today we're going to talk about the Morning Mind, this book that I have been reading, and today we're going to talk about the third chapter of the book. And this book, it is talking to us about the importance of the stress hormones and the sex hormones a little bit. It actually pays more attention to the role of the stress hormones in our life and in our health, and how different functions of our body are influenced by stress, and the stress hormones, what is the need for the stress hormones, what is their function. And usually we can see possibly more the negative side of the stress hormones, and we think that they have no other place in our lives, but it is not like that. Actually, the stress hormones are related to different functions in our body, and hormones in general, they have a wide impact in our lives. So they control the body temperature, the blood sugar, the growth of our muscles or different tissues in our body, and even our mood. So these are definitely something important that we should pay attention to. So the stress hormones in particular are two. One of them is cortisol, and the other one is epinephrine, or also known as the hormone, the hero hormone, the adrenaline. And these hormones are usually controlled by the lizard brain, or the instinctive part of our brain, our mind, and they are very closely related to survival, and we are experiencing the impact of these hormones when we feel like we're in danger. And this danger doesn't need to be necessarily real or a physical threat. It is a perception of danger, and that's why we have this hormone usually related to the fight or flight instinct that a lot of people talk about. But when there is an imbalance of this hormone or different hormones in our body, we can see that there is some disruption in the metabolism. We can even have weight gain, some inflammation in different parts of our body, and we can even have some reduced quality of our sleep. We can have some consequences such as depression or something like this. But in the practical reason for the stress hormones is to improve the likelihood of survival. So when there is some danger, in this case the stress hormone puts us in alert, and we can react in a better way for these situations. Basically, there are two pathways. They call these the pathways of fear. And these pathways have different, let's say, different routes. And one of these pathways is what they are calling the short pathway. And this short pathway is what we will correlate with the amygdala, and it is very fast. So it is what we see in our left. It is making us aware of something that is immediate danger, and there is usually instinct prevails, and there is very little to no thinking. But the way this pathway works is that it is something that it is necessary. We have an immediate and proximate danger that we need to take care of. So this is the short route. And usually this happens when we have something physical in our proximity that is causing us to feel the danger. So there is no way to deactivate this. This is like the first reaction. When we have some stress and we see some danger, we will react in this way. There is no way to avoid this. And then there is another route for the fear that we can find. So it is called the long route, and this usually is related to a slower reaction, and it will integrate the thalamus and the amygdala together with the neocortex. Remember that the neocortex is actually what we call the conscious part of the mind, or the actual brain that most people are familiar with. So there is a lot of thinking, and this slower reaction will allow us to become more adaptive in our reaction to this danger. So there is different kinds of examples. So sometimes we will see that there is no need to react with panic, and we can try to use even some training that we have to be able to react in a more effective way, or in a more efficient way, to this danger that is presenting itself before us. And the first hormone that we see here is the cortisol, and the cortisol is known as this hormone that is produced by the adrenal glands. The adrenal glands are the ones that are in top of our kidneys, one on each side. And what they produce is this boost of energy. So we see this boost of energy in our body, and that's the main purpose of cortisol. That has been its purpose since we were, in previous stages of culture. So we have this energy that we can use to get up in the morning, to become more awake, or just to have an extra boost of energy for different stressful situations. And when this energy is not used correctly, or we don't manage it properly, it will produce some stress, inflammation in different parts of the body, high blood pressure, accelerated aging, even heart disease. So it is very negative when we don't manage it properly. But when we manage it properly, we have the ability to save our lives, because this will give us the energy necessary either to fight or to escape the situation that is right in front of us. So it will help us to even manage blood pressure and strengthen the immune system. The important part here is that we need to be able to manage these emotions, or these, let's say, parts of our neurological system, to be able to manage it more in our advantage. The other hormone that we can see here is what it is called the epinephrine, or adrenaline, and this is usually known as the hero hormone, because it will allow us to have the ability to face different scenarios that are usually difficult to handle without it. So this will work together with the cortisol to help us survive. If there is a need to fight, it will produce psychological responses. So it will increase the heart rate, the blood pressure. It will give us the ability to have more air in our lungs, and it will send more blood to the muscles. And there are different stories, anecdotes about how people are able to do things that are probably perceived as superhuman when they are in this specific situation. So they're able to do things that otherwise they wouldn't do. And again, it's possible to have the ability to save our lives, or even the lives of others, with the help of this hormone that is epinephrine. Epinephrine, as some of you might know, it will also help us to survive some situations where there is some toxicity in the body, or when we have some exaggerated reaction like allergic reaction. The epinephrine will help us survive these attacks, and this is because it will strengthen the whole body. When we don't use it correctly, or when we have adrenaline in our body without need, so it is like an overreaction, we will see similar consequences as we see with cortisol. So if there is some heart disease, the possibility to have weight gain, digestive problems, headaches, insomnia, anxiety, even depression, nervous tension, even the inability to focus or remember things. So basically it will impair our function, our normal function. So that's why it is important to manage these. So there are different effects of the chronic stress on the human brain. And this is when we have had stress in our lives for longer than it should be advisable. So we will see some, as a consequence of some trauma or some thing that will cause us to have a high level of stress. It will have some impact on our overall health, and it will help us. It will not help us to have a normal life. So we will see that we have some depression, and it will decrease our cognition. So we are not able to think as clearly as we will be able to do it. We will have even the inability to process new information. So we will be stuck in our current state. We will not be able to assess new situations. And there is even some research that proves that there is some shrinkage of the brain, of the frontal part of the brain, the part that is called the prefrontal cortex. So this is really negative. That's why we should not go without trying to manage this situation. And also we are aware of the situation with the PTSD. So this is a post-traumatic stress disorder, and that's why it's because it's a sustained level of stress that will over a certain period of time cause a lot of damage to our lives. There is the need then to be able to manage the stress hormones, and there are different suggestions that they give us here that will help us with some diet changes and even some lifestyle changes. So a lot of us have heard this advice even since we were kids, that we should eat more fresh vegetables and fruits. We should stay physically active. We should have some time to relax or to meditate, to doze off from the stress of our life, even to have a good night's sleep. They're even suggesting that we should eliminate most or all, if possible, of processed sugars from our diet. There is ample documentation of how processed sugars have different negative consequences for our lives. Probably you can even find in YouTube a lot of information about this. And as a complementary part for the fruits and vegetables, there is a research from Norway that shows that eating citrus fruits or even together with licorice, so this will help us to have a more bioavailability of the cortisol hormone. So this will help us, to process it and avoid having an excess of this hormone in our body. And as it goes to the part of the sexual hormones, we will see that they are affected also by stress, and it will help us in our performance, in our sexual performance, if we have a better control of our stress in our lives. And this is something that is necessary, and it is part of life. So we have the female hormones that are the estrogen, the male hormones that is the androgen, and the hormone that is in charge of the gestation of a new baby, which is the progesterone. And we will see how this is very important in our lives, and we now not see only stress in early stages of development, but also in every stage of human life. So that's why it's very important to be able to learn how to manage this, and just to be aware of how our intellect, how our psychology works, and to be able to handle it better in a more harmonious way will help us have a better life and most pleasant life. So that's it about this chapter. I really like this chapter because it is not only giving us information about what problems we may face when there is some imbalance in the stress and the consequences to our body, but it is also giving us some solutions or some suggestions on how can we improve this. If you like this content and you want me to continue producing more content like this, you can give me some comments or some suggestions. You can even ask some questions if you have some, and if you want, please like this video, and if you're new to the channel, please subscribe and activate the notification bell so you will be able to see new videos as they are released. So that's it, guys. So thank you for watching.